The fluorescent hum of cheap lights filled the aisles of Queen's last 24-hour grocery store. Shelves stacked high with canned goods, cereal boxes, and discount bins didn't usually draw headlines. But tonight, under the buzz of those flickering bulbs, the fate of one man, and perhaps Spider-Man's own conscience, hung in the balance. Spider-Man wasn't here chasing sinister masterminds like the Green Goblin or high-tech mercenaries bent on destroying half the city. He was just here, perched invisibly on a beam above aisle 7, keeping an eye out. Some nights, he reminded himself, it wasn't giant battles. It was the small, invisible crimes that bled a neighborhood. That's when he saw him, a broad-shouldered man in an expensive coat. His polished shoes clashed with the cracked tiles. He moved with the sharp, disciplined gaze of someone trained to watch danger from every angle. His face was drawn, worn by years of service. Spider-Man's lenses narrowed. This wasn't a random shopper. This was a professional. And yet, in small, surgical moves, he slipped packets of food into his coat. Bread, meat, cans, checked for blind spots. Slid another under his jacket. Every motion efficient, sharp, practiced, until the plastic crinkle of the soup wrapper gave away his intent. Spider-Man whispered under his breath, "You've got to be kidding me." Because he recognized the stance, the precision, even the faint security badge clipped inside the coat. This man wasn't just any thief. He was a political bodyguard. The kind hired to shield men who lived in towers far above the rest. Men who shook hands on cameras while their guards made sure trouble never got close. But here, in a corner grocery in Queens, the guard himself had become the trouble. Spider-Man dropped from his perch silently, landing just between the exit door and the guard's path. His suit shimmered under the buzzing neon as he crossed his arms. Rough night, buddy? Because usually kleptomaniacs skip the formal wear. The guard froze. His jaw tightened, eyes flashing a surge of humiliation and anger. For a trained man, being caught was worse than punishment. It was dishonor. "Step aside, kid," the guard muttered, voice low and clipped, like he was used to giving orders. "Kid?" Spider-Man tilted his head. "I literally webbed up Dr. Octopus yesterday. Kinda harsh to call me a kid when you're shoplifting chicken noodle soup." But then, his tone softened. Behind the jokes, Spider-Man's instincts whispered something deeper was here. Why? Guys like you don't risk everything for canned beans. So why are you doing this? For a long moment, the guard's chest rose and fell, conflicted. Finally, he spat bitterly. Years I protected powerful men who tossed food worth more than my week's wages into the trash. Now, I'm discarded. No pension, no money. My wife's sick. My children need food. Do you know what it's like to guard feasts for kings while your own table is empty? Spider-Man blinked behind the mask. His wisecrack died in his throat, because for once, standing before him wasn't a villain. It was desperation wrapped in a uniform. For a long moment, only the buzzing hum of those tired grocery lights filled the gap between them. The man, trained like a soldier, now crouching to hide food beneath his coat, looked at Spider-Man with a mix of rage and shame. His hands tightened into fists, but his eyes shone with something Peter recognized. Not malice, but defeat. I've spent my life standing in front of bullets for people who never cared if I lived or died, the guard whispered, low and guttural. And now I can't even afford soup for my kids. So yeah, I steal. Go on, wet me up. Make me a headline. Spider-Man swallowed. The instinct was there. To joke, to quip, to throw out a sarcastic one-liner about Soup Man or Snack Bandit. But in this moment, the mask felt heavy. Mockery wasn't going to cure this man's pain. Instead, Spider-Man's voice softened. You're right. Life isn't fair. I know what it's like to lose jobs, to struggle, to wonder if you'll make rent. I've worn the same beat-up shoes until the soles had holes. But stealing? That makes you the thing you once promised to protect us from. It turns your desperation into someone else's loss. The man bared his teeth. What would you know about real sacrifice? You get to be the shining hero on the news. Spider-Man stepped closer. His mask lenses narrowing, as though peering straight into the man's soul. Look under this mask, and you'll see someone who gave up normal years ago. I've buried people I loved because of choices I made. You don't think I've wanted to quit, to take shortcuts, to let the world take care of itself? Believe me, I have. The difference between being broken and being bad is what you decide in this moment. The man's breath hitched. His fists loosened slightly, but his pride still burned. If it were your family starving? Spider-Man froze. Aunt May's image flickered in his memory. Her kitchen table covered in bills, her tired hands flipping through thin envelopes, the weight of poverty pressing on both of them. He remembered nights eating peanut butter sandwiches because electricity bills came first. He whispered, almost to himself, I'd like to believe I'd ask for help, not take it by force. But before the quiet could settle, the cashier finally noticed. Hey, what's going on back there? The woman craned her neck past the aisle, seeing Spider-Man, the man's bulky coat, the scattered cans. Her face blanched. She picked up the store phone, trembling fingers pressing the buttons. 911. Wait, no, Spider-Man called, softly, holding out a hand. But it was too late. The guard panicked. His old training resurfaced like an instinct buried in his bones. He shoved the nearest rack, sending towers of products tumbling. Glass bottles shattered. Flour burst into clouds. Spider-Man fired webs, catching debris before it injured anyone. Easy, don't make this worse. The guard backed toward the exit, chest thundering. Stay back, Spider-Man. You don't know what they'll do to me if I'm arrested. I'll lose everything, the little I have left. You're already losing, man. Spider-Man shot back, voice sharp with urgency. But you don't have to sink further. ... The doors beeped as his back hit them, alarms whining. Outside, red and blue lights flickered, patrol cars already near. If he bolted, he'd run into officers minutes away. If Spider-Man stopped him by force, this man would be branded a criminal forever. Spider-Man's thoughts raced. Stick to the law or gamble with compassion? He fired webs, not at the man, but at the ceiling above him, snapping the light fixtures. Sparks rained down, harmless but startling. The guard froze instinctively, raising his hands on reflex. And then, slowly, Spider-Man walked toward him, step by step. His voice was low, calm, nothing like the sarcastic wisecracks the city knew. You've stood in front of bullets. You've carried men bigger than me on your back. You know discipline, control. But tonight, you'll define yourself by whether your kids remember you as a protector or as a thief in handcuffs. The man's breaths came ragged now, his face cracking under weight. But pride wouldn't let me ask. For the first time, the man's rigid shoulders quaked. His lips trembled. And finally, he nodded. Spider-Man turned toward the startled cashier. He's not a criminal. He's a father. He lost his job. His pride got in the way. Let's give him a chance to fix it before the cops get here. The woman hesitated, glancing between Spider-Man's masked face and the trembling man. She swallowed hard, then nodded quietly. Okay. Outside, sirens swelled, then passed, headed further down the avenue. The call had been redirected. Inside, silence fell again. Just 3 people, and a broken choice repaired by compassion. The man, once rigid, like a statue carved for protection, now stood softer, his hands trembling, not from rage, but release. The groceries lay scattered at Spider-Man's feet. The fluorescent lights hummed above like nervous witnesses. Spider-Man bent down, quietly repacking the items into a shopping bag, his movements deliberate, almost gentle. Then he pressed the bag into the man's arms, looking up through the mask. Not stolen, not sneaked, carried out in the open, because tonight you leave with dignity. For the first time, the man didn't resist. His throat caught. His eyes glistened in the harsh grocery lights. But how? He whispered. How can I walk out now? Spider-Man turned to the cashier, who still hovered nervously behind the counter. Put it on my tab. The woman blinked, startled. You don't have a tab. He gave a little shrug. Start one. Her lips twitched, then softened into a faint smile. All right, Spider-Man. Consider it covered. The ex-guard looked between the 2 strangers, breath heavy, disbelief flooding his eyes. Slowly, he clutched the bag closer to himself, not like loot, but like a lifeline handed back to him. They stepped outside after midnight. The city hadn't stopped humming. Cars still hissed past. Neon signs still hummed. A delivery truck clattered down Roosevelt Avenue. Spider-Man perched on the lamppost above the store's flickering sign, watching the man stand on the corner like a soldier stripped of orders. Finally, the guard muttered, I never thought the night I'd be caught, the night my humiliation would be complete, I'd also find my first piece of mercy. Spider-Man's tone was steady, carrying not judgment, but weight. It's easy to lose yourself in pride when the world chews you up and spits you out. But your kids don't need a thief. They need their dad, someone who gets back up even when it hurts. The man lifted his head slowly, staring up through wet eyes at the silhouette against the neon. He gave the smallest nod. "I'll do better. This ends here." Spider-Man nodded faintly, then shot a web line into the night sky. Before vanishing into the shadows, he left one last reminder, his voice echoing in the guards' ears. "Don't repay me. Repay them with honesty, with love. That's the real mission." The grocery returned to ordinary life. The cashier told no one. The sirens never came back. And for one quiet night in New York, no headline was printed. No news anchor jeered Spider-Man, menace or hero. But somewhere in the city, a former bodyguard went home carrying food, not as a thief, but as a father holding a promise. And somewhere overhead, Spider-Man swung silently through the fog. Reflecting in his heart, he whispered, "Not every villain is really a villain. Sometimes it's a man at rock bottom." Tonight wasn't about strength. It was about listening. This dramatized story reminds us, people break not only from greed or malice, but from pride and desperation. True heroism isn't just about catching those who fall. It's about holding out your hand and giving them a chance to stand again. Spider-Man didn't save the city that night. He saved one man from becoming the worst version of himself. And maybe, sometimes, that's enough. So when you see someone stumbling through life, remember, behind the mistake may be pain you don't know. Choose empathy, because a small act of compassion can be the web that holds someone together. Soft outro music, final shot, swinging into the starless night, neon glow below. The guard walks home under the glow of a streetlight, carrying food with his head held slightly higher.